Hey, welcome back to the academic powerhouse with your mathematical meathead himself, the realest guy in the room. Bada bing, bada boom. How you doing? How you doing? Let's talk about those practice problems that we did. We only had five, guys, only five, where we had to construct the visualization given a set of numbers, a list of numbers. So I've worked them all out, pre-worked them out. I'll explain them as we go, but here we go, guys. Okay, so I first, before I even did anything with any of these problems, I took the liberty of reordering them, putting them in order. Why? You don't really have to. I did it because I like to see things in order, and especially when it comes to box and whisker, where you absolutely need to, it um, it helps me keep better track. You didn't have to do this, but I went ahead and did that for each one. So when I did that, though, I was more clearly able to see my number sets. So again, for each data point with a histogram, this is a histogram, guys, right? We first, our data, in this case, we're talking about ages, the ages that a person was when they got their first job. So the ages that a person was their first job, we put the data values on the horizontal being this direction here. We put the frequency on the vertical being that direction there. Okay, I initially kind of scanned my range, being that, okay, I didn't see anything smaller than 12 and I didn't see anything bigger than 21. So I used that information for when I did my tick marks. I wanted to start at 12 and go by ones all the way up to 1 over my range. So that's kind of how I laid it out. And I also kind of quickly scanned. I didn't really see any crazy frequency counts, so I just kind of decided to do 4 on the vertical. So with that said, look at each number. I got 112, 112, right? When I have, so I know that at the number 12, I need to go up to the amount of 1, and then I go across until I get to 13. And doing so signifies that you're not including 13, but you are including every single possible infinite value that exists between the whole numbers of 12 and 13. So for example, 12.0001, 12.0004, 12.2, 12.3, etc. All those numbers in between uh, 12 and 13, of which there are an infinite number of them, it is to be included. That's why we do sort of a rectangle or box or square, whatever you want to call it, sort of thing. It's kind of a bar chart, histogram, box, whatever you want to call it. But essentially, that's it, right? You just create a little rectangle showing every value between that and the next whole number, in this case, 12. So with that said, I looked, I had 113, so very similar to that. I had two 15s, which similar idea, guys. I just, instead of going up on the vertical to 1, I went up on the vertical all the way up to um, all 3. There's 3 of them. That's right. There's 3. 1, 2, 3, 3. I went all the way up to 3. Anyways, same idea there, guys. I looked at and so I just kept doing that for each number. 16, 16. There's 2 of them. There's 4 17s, 2 18s, and then 121. So very the same. I mean, you're just basically creating boxes and rectangles, coloring them in, and the height that they go corresponds to the frequency of occurrences of that particular number in the data set. Easy enough, guys. Easy enough. Let's roll to the next one here. We had number 2 being a dot plot. Now, very, very similar to histograms, except you're not doing boxes and rectangles and coloring in bars. You're just putting dots. So similar in the way that, like I said, with the you're setting up your graphical axes is what they're called, really, the horizontals and the verticals, right? The horizontal and the vertical, right? What I'm doing is on the horizontal, I'm my data set is men's heights, men's heights, men's heights. So I kind of quickly scanned. I saw the smallest one being 170. I saw the biggest one, 184. So I plotted my tick marks out in a, by ones, boom, boom, boom. And then just like with histograms, I kind of scan the data, right? How many do I have? I have one of 170. Okay, so instead of going straight line up and then this and then this like a bar, instead I'm just doing dots, which is kind of easier in terms of drawing it and creating it. Oh, okay, so boom. So one value of 170, one dot. Two values of 171, two dots, and so forth and so forth and so forth, all the way to account for all of them. And look, guys, you can see the shape taking form. Right here, you have nothing. Got a little, got a little, right? The shape. It's, that's the shape, guys. That's the shape. You can see just visually, even without doing calculations, you can see that there's going to be quite a bit of a wide spread. You can kind of see that the center may be looking to be somewhere around maybe 175, maybe 176, 77, somewhere in there, the center being. That's the beauty of doing these visualizations and seeing the shape. You can get a sense as to what the center and the spread are. So that's that one. Let's talk about stem and leaves. Stem and leaves, remember, these are not too bad, but understand that what we're essentially doing is we're splitting our values up into their respective, I'll call it like your tens columns, your tens, your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, 50s, and so forth, right? It doesn't have to be just tens. It could be your hundreds and your 200s and your 300s and your 400s, or your 1 millions and your 2 millions and your 3 millions and so forth. In this case, we're just working with double-digit numbers, so it makes sense. You're just splitting essentially each data value down the middle. You're splitting it. So, for example, with 37, I split the 3 and the 7 apart. I put my first number out here on the stem side, and the leaf, if you imagine stems and leaves, like a tree, tree has a branch and it has many leaves that can come, that can grow off of that one branch. So for example, when you look at these fours, the 40s, right? These are all the leaves, right? There's one branch of 40s, and then there's so many leaves. There's a 43 leaf, a 44 leaf, 45, 5, and there's so many leaves here. And that's the idea of a stem and leaf. Stem and leaf, you're just splitting the data values up, right? And you're kind of consolidating them by, their first number, basically. So that's it, guys. It's fairly intuitive. You can get a sense of the shape from this as well, right? You can kind of see already that the center's probably looking somewhere in the 40s. You can see kind of on the edges here, you got these two smaller edges. So things look to be making sense, guys. Let's go to the next one. Box and whisker. This one's probably a little bit more involved. There's a slight bit of calculation involved here. Nothing super major. But understand that much like a histogram, much like a what was the other one? What was the other one? Dot plot. That's right. Much like those two, you have a horizontal. The horizontal being the data values that you're actually looking at. In this case, average lifespans of animals. So I first did out my horizontal so I could list them all out. Oh, right, my horizontal. I didn't. I quickly scanned the data with my eyes here, and I saw that my lowest one was 3, my highest one was 33, which gave me a sense as to the tick marks that I would put on my horizontal. Right, the first one I would start with would be 3, going all the way to 33. And in fact, part of this, now again, I want to reemphasize here, box and whisker is all about splitting your data up into 4 pieces. 4 pieces. So where you want to start with all this is splitting it up into 2 pieces first. That's why we determine what the median is. Median. Now we know how to find the median at this point, right? We split all the numbers in half and whichever one's right there in the middle, right? So 13 was in the middle, right? There's 4 on this side of it, 4 on this side, which means 13 is squarely in the middle. The one that is squarely in the middle is our median, so we label it as Q2. Then to get Q1 and 3, it's just a matter of splitting or taking the median of the lower half and taking the median of the upper half. So when I just look at these, what's the median here? Well, there's no clear median. There's an even number of numbers. There's no clear median. So you have to take the average of the two. So as I've done here, right? 4 plus 4 divided by 2, it's 4, right? You're basically inserting an imaginary fifth number 4 right here. And you label that as Q1. And this is Q2. So that's what I've done here. 4. Just drew a straight line vertical, Q1, just like with the median, straight line vertical, 13, Q2. And same idea here with these groups of numbers here. There's no clear median, so I have to create one. 19 plus 20 divided 2 equals 19.5. So in other words, I'm inserting a fifth number, 19.5, into this data set and calling it Q3. That's why you see my vertical line here between 19 and between 20, eyeballing it to get 19 and a half. Put a little vertical there. Now look, here's the interesting thing. All right, we've done 3 median calculations, resulting in 2 boxes at that point. Now the whole point of box and whisker is to split it into 4 equal parts, or in other words, the whole quartiles, right? It's in the word quartiles. That's what we're doing. Q's mean quartiles. It's in the word 4. There's 4. Well, we took care of boxes, so the other half of the name of box and whisker is that, whisker, right? Whisker is that the rest of our data is wrapped up in these whiskers, right? The whiskers being these things here, these horizontal lines that connect to the boxes. So how did I know where to make them? Well, when you just do the whiskers, you're just taking basically just the plain old range. So your biggest number and your smallest number, right? 33 and 30. So you put a point at each of the maximum number and the smallest number. So do a point there, do a point there, and then just draw a line to connect them. So even though it doesn't look visually like they are 4 equal parts, again, mathematically, what we did, they are indeed 4 equal parts. There, there's a median here, and there's an even number of numbers on either side of this median. And when you look at just this median, there's an even number of numbers on this side of the median, and so forth. So visually, it may not look like 4 equal parts, but indeed it is. Indeed it is. It's just, blah, blah, blah. Whoa, yikes, tongue-tied. It's just that the spread, right? That's the beauty of the box and whiskers. You can see the spread of the data. How tightly compact is it? Or in this case, it's very spread out. So again, that's the beauty of visualization. And box and whisker happens to be my favorite. Anyways, so last one. This one's not too bad. It's just a frequency table, guys. You're given the list of numbers here, and for each single instance. So I saw a 2 and a 3 and a 5, a 6 and a 7. So I listed them out here, and then I just counted how many there were. So there was only 1, 2, so I counted that. Threes, I got a 2, 5. There's 5 of those, and so forth. So you're just counting the number of goals that there were. So so there's multiple games. So each of these numbers represents a game, and the number of goals scored in that game. So there you go. There was one game in which 2 goals were scored, 2 games in which 3 goals were scored, and so forth. That's how you read and interpret that. Okay, guys. So with that said, that's all. That's all the practice problems. That was the whole thing, guys. Did you do well? I hope you did well. Not too bad. right? It is what it is. That's the next step in our journey across the statistical continuum, our path toward building up those mental muscles, getting a good pump on, feeling that burn, baby, and continuing on. Now we've done everything, guys. We have done everything we can besides interpret and present data we've collected, we've analyzed. We've gone through the whole life cycle of being given numbers and then creating a visualization from it and calculating different centers and calculating the spread and seeing the shape. Now at this point, it's a matter of, in the next videos, going back, given a shape, giving it a visualization, going back and getting the numbers from it, and then calculating the median, the mode, the range, all that from the shape. And that's about it, guys. That is about it. So I will see you on the next one. Take care, guys. Bye.